Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Listema, and I will be doing your weekly weather briefing for Thursday, October 4th, 2018, from the National Weather Service in Atlanta. Some of the things we're going to talk about today were some climatological records set for the month of September. We're going to talk about some current conditions and what's expected even through the days 8 to 14 period. For the forecast, how much rain is expected within the next 7 days, what's our potential for severe weather, and what's going on in the tropics. September was a pretty warm month. Macon alone broke or tied 4 maximum temperature records. Macon and Atlanta had the second warmest on average temperatures for September, with Columbus being third and Athens bringing up the rear at the 5th warmest. Amongst the 4 climatological sites, the official climatological sites, 11 high minimum temperature records were broken or tied for the month. On average, the departure from normal temperatures were about 6 to 7.5 degrees above normal for the month of September, which is pretty anomalous. Speaking of anomalous, the temperatures are going to remain well above normal through the middle of September, actually. We have high pressure anchored across the southeast United States, with a cold front stretching from the central Great Lakes back through the Ohio Valley into northern Texas. This front is not going to be impacting the state at all. So the high pressure is going to remain pretty much in control of the sensible weather through much of the forecast period. But even though we have high pressure at the surface, we're going to continue to stream deep Gulf moisture northward. So even though there's little, if any, precipitation in the forecast, conditions will be abnormally humid for this time of year. For today and tonight, the precipitation forecast is dry, although it will continue humid. For the weekend, into the weekend, the high pressure remains in control. Through the weekend, it does begin to shift offshore a bit Monday into Tuesday, shift into the middle Atlantic. And then by Wednesday, it should begin to shift offshore, but it will be in control of the sensible weather for Georgia through the 7-day period. What does this mean for temperatures? Well, they're going to remain hot. They're going to be about 10 degrees above normal through the weekend. This means high temperatures in the middle 80s to around 90. And the outlook for next week, much of the same. Temperatures are forecast to be in the middle 80s to upper 80s, at least through Wednesday. What's our chances of precipitation? Very little. For the next 7 days, the Weather Prediction Center is forecasting less than 1/4 of an inch across Georgia, while the main precipitation axis stays across the central U.S. along a very slow-moving cold front. What about 8 to 14 days? Well, the Climatological Prediction Center, above average temperatures expected for days 8 through 14, with above average chances for precipitation. So that's a little bit good news. What about the potential for severe weather? Very little. For today through Saturday, we're just in general thunder chances for portions of North Georgia and East Central Georgia. I can't rule out an isolated severe thunderstorm. The main impacts would be damaging wind or localized flooding, but the potential for tornadoes or large hail remains very low through the period. Even into days 4 through 8, the potential for severe weather for much of Georgia remains too low to mention. So what about the tropics? Well, for us, they're quiet. We do have Hurricane Leslie well out into the Atlantic. For the next 2 days, she is supposed to meander a bit northward. A little more exciting is the tropical disturbance off the Central American coast. Although for the next 2 days, it's going to be in an environment that is not favorable for development. But in the 5-day period, the National Hurricane Center does expect the disturbance off Central America to move northwest into a more favorable area for development, while Hurricane Leslie is expected to weaken and become a tropical storm by the weekend. But for Georgia, little to no impact at all from the tropics. So that was a quick briefing for this week. We talked about the above normal temperatures continuing well into the month of October. Very little precipitation is expected through 7 days. The potential for severe weather is very low, and the tropics will remain quiet for the southeast U.S.